Hello everyone, and I hope you're all doing very well. So, news in DCS, and I appreciate I'm a few weeks late, but for me that's pretty much on time, as you know, that we now have Wake, Turbulence and DCS in DCS. Now this started with the F-14. The F-14 was introduced, and F-14 on F-14 interaction gave Wake Turbulence kind of generated from the wings that we found. It made any aircraft trailing behind kind of duck and dive, and you could really feel the turbulence knocking you around from the plane in front, including on takeoff. Well, that's now in DCS for all planes. So basically, as far as we can see, all planes on all other planes have this turbulence interaction going on. Now this is, we think this was from ED, this picture we've got here, and it shows just a very rough approximation of an F-18 Hornet and how roughly where you can expect the turbulence to be felt. You can see it's kind of coming off 3/4 way down the wing, and kind of going backwards in an ever-expanding cone, about 15 degrees, something like that. So what I'm going to show in this video is turning it on, showing you how to turn it on to make sure that you can feel it, because that's a thing that people seem to get wrong, and then showing you feeling it. It's going to be quite hard to quantify. We're going to try several different aircraft and explain what it feels like as we go along. So into DCS first of all. So we're in the main menu here, and one thing you have to do at the moment, we're June 2019, is go to options here, gameplay, and you have to have Wake Turbulence turned on. That has to be ticked for you to feel that as the client once you go into a mission, and always ensure you have this here ticked as well. Use these options for all missions. Now it's a lot easier to fly without Wake Turbulence on, but I suggest you do fly with it on, because almost certainly this option will be turned off at some point and it will become compulsory. So it's best just to get used to it now, rather than turn it off until you're forced to turn it back on. So we're going to go get in a mission now and have a fly around. Okay, our first scenario is we've got a C-130 there, a KC-130 there. We're in the Tomcat here. We're going to fly behind its, those cones that we saw earlier, roughly where we think those cones are. So coming out roughly about where that pod, refueling pod, is there, and see if we can get the kind of feel, see what kind of feel we get. It's going to be difficult to quantify this, so what you're going to have to look at is my inputs at the bottom left of the screen and see where my plane actually goes. That's going to be the best way, because it's all about feel at the end of the day. So I'm going to fly, and what we found is, generally speaking, we found it easier in practice to get the feel of this from a larger plane. So if I put this big plane up here, it seems to create more of a Wake Turbulence than a smaller plane, than, for instance, another Tomcat, which makes sense. That's a lot heavier. It's creating more lift, i.e. more turbulence. So fly. I put my thing up there. So we're going to just get trimmed out neutrally first of all, just get comfortable. So you can see my trim tab in the bottom left is my small diamond. My stick is the big diamond. What we found is you get hardly any turbulence if you're really close to the guy in terms of longitudinal. So you have to be back a good few tens of feet, and the maximum effect about 400 feet, we're saying. So nothing yet. Neutral stick. There. You see that? So what happened was, if the stick was neutral all the way through, what happened was I got sucked down, the plane rotated right, and then pushed out to the side. And that's how, at least in this circumstance here, I found it seems to be modelled. So imagine we've got a cone kind of coming out from roughly that place there, backwards, about 15 degrees. What seems to happen with me, at least, the feel of it, is I get sucked into that cone, rotated a bit, and then blown out another direction, either right or up or down or left or right. I don't know if it's random, there's a good chance it is, which direction you get blown out. Also, it seems to affect you differently with different types of planes. So what we're going to see different planes later on, and we'll get a different effect. Again, whether that's randomized, whether that's logical, I've got no real way of quantifying that. So we'll just carry on playing. And it seems easiest to feel this effect about 100 feet behind the plane. So I'm going to drop into that cone of influence again. Neutral stick. And I got rotated right, so I got sucked in, down, rotated right, and I'm getting blown out, down and right. Okay, so let's try attacking that cone from a different angle. It also seems to accelerate me as well. You see, I'm not touching the throttle, but it seems to suck me forward. I'm just trying to think for a reason of that. I think it may be something to do with a pressure differential. If you accelerate in air, mush it up into turbulence, then you lower the pressure of that fluid, and air is a fluid, of course. So I get the feeling that wake turbulence, as well as shifting you left, right, up and down, also sucks you forward. I mean, a contemporary model, maybe a Formula 1 car, if you watch racing, if you get in the turbulence, the wake turbulence of another car, it sucks you forward. It's called a slipstream of a car. You get in the slipstream, it sucks you forward because the air is accelerated, excited in front of you. It's a lower pressure differential. We've got higher pressure behind us, and it kind of sucks us forward. So that seems to be what I'm feeling as well. Let's go and try that again. This time we'll attack it from below. Let's see if it sucks me forward again. So a bit further back, good couple of 100 feet here. Neutral stick. There, you feel that, you see that shaking? And that's just suddenly shot off. So I was accelerating a bit anyway, but it kind of sucked me forward, rotated me right, sent me out here again, this time up. So it does seem to make a difference at what angle you approach it. So if I approach it from below, it rotates me right, sucks me forward, spits me out up and right. If I approach it kind of downwards, it sucks me forward, spits me out down and right. So it seems to be how it's working. So it depends on the angle at which you approach the cone of influence. So what we'll do is we'll bop over to the right-hand side now. See how many knots that added to me. So try watching my speedo this time and see if you can see it actually sucking me forward. So we're back a good few hundred feet now. I'll wait, aim for that area of influence. Neutralise the stick. Attack it from downwards this time. Oh, I got shifted left. So I get... and... I turned a little, not much forward motion that time. Maybe I'm wrong about the forward motion. Let's try that again. The reason I'm using a heat blur module is they simulate the kind of shaking cockpit, so it just makes it easier to kind of show to people watching. When I hit that, there it is again. The speedo didn't seem to move, did it? Maybe I'm wrong about being sucked forward. Let's try a little bit closer. Ooh, big rotation there. So I really got in that quite big there, but again, not really a great deal. About 2 knots increase there, so it's not. Now what I'd like to do now is try and get in a cone and stay in a cone. Now that's probably going to be easier said than done, because what it's doing is sucks me in and spitting me out. When you want a cone, you can never find it. There it is. It's weird. It's very weird how it's modelled. I don't know how to really explain it. You can't really sit in that cone like you can in, for instance, X-Plane. I really enjoy the flight engine of X-Plane. I'm not an X-Plane guy because it's not a combat simulator, and I prefer the combat in X-Plane. You can kind of feel that cone, and you can kind of move into it and try and keep in it, and you jerk the controls around and bump in. It seems to work different in DCS. It seems to be once you're near the centre of that cone, it applies a force, and that's it. It stops applying a force. So let's try that again. I don't think you can maintain that force. It just seems to be how it works. It's kind of like a one-time effect, I think is what I'm trying to... an instantaneous effect. There, yeah, see what I mean? It just pushes you out and that's it. It's done. So, I mean, that's how they've modelled it. So it's just what you have to learn to expect. So it just pushes you out again. And again, when you can hear that sound of the cockpit rattling, that's when it gives me that effect for about a second. I take back what I said about it sucking me forward. I don't think it does. I think it was just me getting a bit excited with the throttle. Now, let's see how it affects us in the middle of the plane. Well, it won't, I can tell you that there. And let's see how it affects us when we get close. And it probably won't affect us there either. So when it's affecting us, we're talking about 50 feet to, about 400 feet out in the 2 cones either side. But in the middle of the plane, we don't think it's going to give us an effect. So let me go and have a look at that. So I'm going to get behind the plane here. I'm just going to move about behind the fuselage. I need to fall back a bit, I think. So I move about around here, and I can't get any effect. I have to get into one of those cones, or towards the centre of one of those cones to get an effect. So move off to the right again. There we go. We've got a cone there this time here. Because we're quite far out, I guess that cone is kind of something like that at the moment. I'll try and stay in that cone this time. There, you see, even though I stayed in the cone, the effect only lasted for the due 2 seconds or whatever it usually lasts at. So it's a bit strange how it works, really. What I would expect, as I'm in the cone at the moment, what I would expect is the constant all the time while I'm in that cone, like an X-plane. That's what I would expect. So it seems to work just an instantaneous force, almost maybe randomised once you're in that cone. I don't quite know how it works. And once you're in the cone, look, it's quite hard to get the effect. There, we got it there. Interesting. Oh, we got blown out really hard there. Weird, isn't it? I don't really know. And I don't really know anything about aerodynamics, so I can't really say what's right or wrong. It's just, what I'm used to. But I just moved a bit up there and just got shot out the front, out the back there. That was interesting. So it can have a massive effect that you can't even really overcome. Anyway, sorry. So behind the fuselage, you don't get any effect. Next, let's try kind of wingtip formation. So this is interesting for me because this is what I do, obviously. If I'm going to fly in formation with someone, I'm going to kind of wingtip him over here. Now, I'm not really expecting it to have much effect, but we'll see. I think I may have felt a bit there. So what I'm doing, I have big long wings in this plane, and one of my wings might get in that cone. It's possible. Nothing yet. Move up a bit, down a bit as well, see if I can kind of cross into that cone. Nothing there. About 30 feet back at the moment, maybe. Nothing there. So I get the feeling it has to be my fuselage, my longitudinal axis, my datum line inside that cone of influence for it to have an effect. Let's try moving a little bit closer here. Almost certainly not going to have any effect at this point. Would it have an effect in real life? No idea. No idea. I wouldn't pretend to know. Nothing obvious. Oh, yeah, it blew me there. Right. It blew me right there, look. That must have been my wingtip. Must have got in that cone there. And that was definite blow right, because that wasn't me doing that. That deserves a bit more investigation, I think. And this will make you fly much better. It means you can't fly like this, like I'm doing now. So whenever we fly, I always tell the boys they have to have vertical separation of at least 10 feet. So something like that there. It's actually to avoid lagging, latency problems, but as a benefit, it also avoids this wake turbulence. Let me see if I can get my wing in it again. Can't seem to get it now. I wonder if it's got some kind of randomizer in there. I can't get it now, but I definitely did before. What about close? What about real close? I suppose we should get a screenshot there, shouldn't we? Can't get much closer than that. Whoops. No, I don't think it's going to have any effect when I'm super close. We'll give it one more go and then we'll call off the dogs. Not feeling anything yet. There. Felt it. Do you feel that? I got that there. So what is that? So that was my mid-wing. So interestingly, my mid-wing was in the cone, roughly of influence there. And that started shaking my left wing. So, I don't know how this works. It seems to be more thoroughly modelled than maybe I first thought. And then it just gave me a small effect there. Perhaps even put my nose right in here, look. So there, my shoulder is just literally in that cone of influence there, but I don't seem to be feeling anything at the moment. I think I may have got a little bit close there. Whoops. Sorry.
Shit, they got one of ours.
Oh dear. That's going to be the RAF on my back. Right, well that's as thoroughly as we can test that. Some okay data there, and again we can't get real data, it's not really quantifiable, it's feel. But I hope I gave you a decent example there. Next, let's go try something different. Let's try a warbird behind a B-17. Stand by. Okay, we're in our lovely radial A8 now. We're going to have a similar type of plane. A big B-17 should have a big, powerful cone. We're a small 4-ton fighter. We should get thrown around. And I was just talking to Shifty about this as well. And we're saying the further back we are within, the kind of roughly 400 feet, the easier it is to get into the cone. So let's go, which makes sense. We're going to have a play with that. Stand by. Just to get myself trimmed out and whatnot. So I've got to hold a little bit of right ailer on this because I don't have the trim, but everything is such a small amount it shouldn't make a great bit of difference. So I'm about 150 feet behind here. Let's just pop up into where we think that cone's going to be from experience. Yeah, woohoo, look at that. I'm not moving the stick at all. Do you see what it did? It rotated me right and sucked me in to the vortex, then spat me out kind of right again and gave me right roll, and then I compensated a little back with left. So the same thing more or less as in the Tomcat. Let's go back a bit and see what effect we have there. Quite hard to fly with B-17s, they're very slow old things. Might be a bit too far back now. Not getting any feel from it, so let's put the throttle on. Nothing felt at the moment. Maybe a tiny effect there. Definite effect there. Push down and right. Try that again. Definite effect there. Push right and then left. That wasn't me doing anything. Definite effect. Woohoo! Look at that! Look! Woohoo! That was aggressive. It seems, in terms of the velocity or the magnitude of the effect, the closer. So the closer you are to the wing, the higher the magnitude of the effect, to an extent, until you get to about 50 feet behind, at which point it gets weaker again. That's what I felt with the F-14. It seems to be the same here. Let's try again. Nothing yet. No, nothing. Out of interest, let's have a bit of a play with slot here. This is what we call a rear slot position. See if we can get any effect. I don't think we'll be able to, unless our wing slips into one of the cones. Oh, mustn't forget about our propeller. No, nothing there. Over here? How about echelon right? Nothing there. I mean, there was the spool effects there, but I wonder if it's because he's going slow. Why don't we get a backfire? Blackjack, make him go Mach 2 and try and fly behind him in an F-15. I wonder if magnitude is also varied upon speed. That makes sense in my mind, at least, because you've just got bigger pressure differentials, haven't you? Let's go and try that. Stand by. That was pretty disappointing, to be honest. Right, we've somehow got to catch that guy up now. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it, to be honest, but he's going as fast as a Blackjack can go, and they are incredibly fast aircraft. 800 knots. Right, so, in my mind, due to the... I mean, these are just energy forces. It's just, what we're talking about is energized air that's being forced to move around. So, the faster that airplane goes, the more energized that air is, the faster it moves compared to static air. So, in theory, we should see a bigger effect. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to overshoot here, so barrel roll of freedom. Yeah, he's got his wings fully back, look. He's going for it, bless him. I'm going to go into one of his little coney-wonies. Nothing yet. Oh, I think we've got one there. Ooh, that was a big one. Yeah, it feels about the same. Ooh. Hitting them more often than last time. Oops. Feels about the same. I'm getting them more regularly, interestingly, than I did with the slow plane. But in terms of how much force I have to do to overcome it, it feels about the same. And I don't think I can get them to go any faster than 600 knots. So that is about as good as we're going to get there. Right. So that's that test here. The only thing else I can think of testing is that a lot of the guys have been having trouble following planes up on takeoff, suggesting that this has a real effect at the limit of an aircraft's, the slow limit of an aircraft's airfoil, which makes perfect sense. It's going to, if you like, induce a stall. It's going to take away your lift, and it's going to give you problems taking off. So let's go and have a go with that. We've got an IL-78 here. I'm in a tiny little 15-ton Hornet. Let's see him chuck me about, shall we? Stand by. I'm not sure how many tons he is, but he must be over 100. Look at the size of the blighter. Right, I'm going to sneak under his wing here to make sure I can get it. And what I'll do is I'll fly ever so slightly off to the side. Let me check my flaps are medium. They are. Ever so slightly off to the side so that I can make sure I get in one of his cones of influence. And I'm going to rotate about 120, 130, 1 Oh, really? I'm blocking you, am I? Right. Yeah, thank you, sir. Right, we're off. I'm going to stay a little bit further back, I think. The boys have reported turbulence lasting up to about 20 seconds on the runway, so... Right, well, we seem to have upset him, obviously, so let's get off the runway, I guess. Wagner! I knew this was going to be hard to test.
If you get him to start from parking and then taxi behind him, wait till he starts moving.
I tricked him, I went off the runway, and now I've come back on. Oh, and he stopped again! No, his burner's on, right. Are you going? Yes, he's going. Haha, super cap. Right. Let me feel your thrust. I'm going to pull. That sounded a bit weird, but I'm going to pull back a bit. Oh my god, he takes off so slow.
What are you chasing?
IL-78. 70 knots, no feel. I haven't felt anything weird yet. 100 knots, haven't felt anything weird yet. He's lifting off. I'm going to have to get a little bit faster. To be honest, that was a perfectly easy takeoff. So, not sure what to say about that. Might as well follow him, see if I can get in this cone. No, Betty. Come on, there it was. So, yeah, woohoo! Look at that. That was aggressive. Oh, Hornet, no Ike.
Oh, I'm gonna jump down to the stove burners. You see, guys?
Hold on. And again. Did you see that? That nearly stalled me. That literally threw me to the left. So I get more of an effect in this plane than I do the Tomcat because why? It's lighter. I don't know. It's just programmed that way. So what we can say, I personally didn't have any problems taking off behind, this big Thunder Chunky. I know some guys have reported having problems, but, it's difficult to quantify. I haven't found that doing this test. Interestingly, as soon as I get up, then I've got massive effect behind me at the moment. You see, it's literally thrown me almost out of airfoil, almost out of control, which is interesting. In terms of speed, it doesn't seem to make any difference. Let me know what you think, but I couldn't feel any difference in the Tomcat. So, well, there you go. Those are my findings. That's how it is. Obviously, this is early stage, so it's going to be developed, it's going to be changed, and things are going to change. But let me know what you think, and if there's anything we need to add. Have you got anything to add, Shifty?
Negative, sounds good.
Right, cool. Hope you enjoyed that. See you later.